Previously, we have seen Emmeline Pankhurst lead the post-feminist movement through backwards history.
Watch me try to padlock my bicycle. Oh, I'm such a useless ninny. But this is what happens when we're allowed to roam free without chaperones or male guidance.
While Galileo and Kepler's attempts to understand the uses of 20th century antique technology were imperiled when their world was turned upside down.
Our friend Galileo tied to the stake for his sat-nav heresy. Truly, these are bad days for science. Is there anywhere on this benighted earth that offers a happy vista?
And we have seen that when the oil has to stay in the ground, ruling elites will use exploitation to preserve the energy-intensive lifestyles to which they are accustomed.
No more natural gas, no more radiator. I've been through your wall. Big old rooms these days is awful drafty. Gotta build it small. We've been headed the wrong way all through time. Living in the wrong place, wrong life, traveling all with one day, going the wrong way.
In the history of the world backwards, our hearts are heavy, for every year is harder than the last. Even though the powerful tell us that things are getting better. How do they convince us of this fallacy? Well, in backwards history, every regressive measure is called a reform. Reform of the tax system towards direct taxation, for example, leads to hunger and bread riots, in which famished crowds break open the storehouses and distribute free loaves to all. The government calls out the dragoons to quell the bread riots. And the starving populace are unable to resist the dragoons, not through lack of numbers, but by the inherited wheat intolerance which makes them too lethargic to parry the cutlass blows which cut them down in their hundreds. Long after the end of recorded and printed word, a rich oral culture of bardic storytelling has emerged. Stories are handed down through the ages from druid to druid.
Tell us one of the old stories, Bard. Recount for us once more the story of the last railway.
The last years of the railways were the best. For the lawmakers did decree that train carriages should no longer be divided by class, but by ethos. Thus you had one carriage designated the Ibiza Foam Party carriage. Then the next carriage was the eminent Victorian scientist's carriage, with burgundy leather armchairs and open fire, and glass-topped display cabinets full of entomological specimens. Coach C was the hobo carriage, which was full of straw, with a big sliding barn door, and you could only hop on when the train stopped at corners. Then came the passing of the anti-clone town laws, laws designed to break up chains and clone towns. After this reform, if a pub was called O'Neill's, there had to be someone working there called O'Neill. And at Scruffy Murphy's, there had to be someone working there who was not only called Murphy, but was also Scruffy. And the same went for the McDonald's chain of free public toilets. But there was a fresh wave of turmoil in the Middle East when they tried to move all the bingo halls to Mecca.
Ministers deny that the introduction of faith schools will mean that from now on only monks will get an education. Middle-class parents move close to monasteries so as to be in the catchment areas just in case. This contributes to depopulation of the cities, but not as much as the anti-social movement. A gathering swell of anti-sociability breaks over Britain from the late 1800s. Everybody blames each other for the rise in illness, the shorter lives, the longer working week, where it all went wrong. Neighbours quarrel and leave cities to go and live in rural, isolated cottages. But the most characteristic feature of the anti-social movement is that people now begin deliberately affecting or inventing an unintelligible local dialect so as to discourage conversation and inquiry. Not only do people in different regions now develop different dialects, but in the same street.
I reckon I can.
Peter, old man, what's going on? You didn't talk like that yesterday.
Happen I did, happen I does not. Flax and fall on bidding yarn be known of matted flume. And I thank ye to call me Gallimumfrey for now on.
But seek it out, and if you know where to look, you will find in the tiny taverns folk who meet by the smell of the peat fire and the clay pipe to clink tumblers of canary rum and beer. As I walked into Salisbury on a bright and sunny day, the meadow full of buttercups, it was the month of May. I saw a dove, a stoat and a lark, and I saw a speckled hen. But then I had a panic attack and never went there again.
Now then, Nathaniel, who would you say, now, was the greatest escapologist of all time?
Oh, now, let me see. You'd have to go as far back as the 20th century for that, gentleman. Houdini's your man. There he was, hanging upside down above the Hudson River, chained at the ankles, suspended from a crane and straight-jacketed to boot. And he got out of it. I don't know how, but he did it.
No. You're forgetting one now. Oh. I don't dispute the eminence of Houdini, only his preeminence. For surely there was one stunt by a 20th century escapologist which places above the name of Houdini that of Mussolini. Mussolini's your man for escapology. There he was, hanging upside down, his lady assistant beside him, suspended from a lamppost, stark naked, head shaved and surrounded by armed and snarling partisans. And he not only gets out of it, but a short while after appears on a balcony in Rome wearing a sumptuous uniform and waving to a cheering crowd. How he did it, I do not know. Indeed, the tide of popularity attending this extraordinary feat swept Mussolini into power. This meteoric rise from celebrity to leader went, however, to his head, and his regime was censured as being so odious and oppressive that his contemporaries said it was, this was the word they used back then, fascism. Now, what that was, I don't rightly know. But I think it was a type of ethnical hatred, in the same way that people from Weymouth tend to look a bit askance at Tiverton folk. Ain't that right, Peter?
Grant swale to the fruit foxed eglantine, but stipple bark be fively. Happen I do, happen I does not.
But this snug conviviality is the exception. In the wider country, the anti-social movement has even achieved a breakaway punk rock republic where each village has its own Johnny Rotten. Here, we find one who has strayed out of his territory.
Hello there. You having a nice time? Do you like it here?
No, this tavern is tedious and it's boring.
How about a dance?
When they play some decent music, not before. I know what you want, Ducky, and you're not getting it.
Would you like to come through and join the others?
Others? I don't think so. I don't like others.
Ah, well, there's some lovely fellows in there.
One fella likes rum, not ale. Another fella likes ale, not rum. And then you might meet a chap, he don't like rum nor ale. Another fella, he likes rum and ale. Everyone's got a personality, ain't they?
What?
So toddle off then.
Okay, bye-bye.
Ta-ta, goodbye. Ah.
Mozart gives a press conference at which he declares that his new opera will stay true to the key operatic principles. Nostalgia for British rock acts of the 1980s. The grand opening of Mozart's new opera is held at La Scala, Milan. In 1764, the curtain rises for the first time on Don Giovanni or Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now, featuring the music of the Smiths. Sir, the English language is in decline. Why, back in the 21st century, the average subject of Her Britannic Majesty would think nothing, sir, of using as many as 20 similes in a single sentence. So I'm like getting off the bus, and he's like on the pavement, and he's like totally like seen me, and I'm thinking like, is he like blanking me? Because if he is, that's like, oh my days.
Kepler, thank you for escorting me to the ball. And wish me luck, for I've been disappointed in my search for a husband before.
But you're never short of suitors.
Well, indeed not. I am from one of the oldest Italian families. We can trace our lineage right back to Franchi Dettori.
Have you been disappointed?
I can never find the complete package in one man. The Duke of Lombardy had deep harbour port but no tax gathering system. Then Piedmont had efficient tax collection but no anchorage. Then Calabria comes along. He was too good to be true. Fiscal bureaucracy, deep harbour port. I can almost hear the wedding bells. But then it all comes out. Oh, just one small thing, Duchess. No navy.
In a spirit of intellectual inquiry, just as a thought experiment no more, could you ever imagine marrying a humble, lowly scientist?
What a good question. How fascinating. Now, let me see. I think allowing a scientist to marry a noblewoman would be as if a bride stood at the altar next to a dog that was wearing a white carnation and dry humping her leg. It would be like watching a mangy, knock-kneed hyena impregnate a lioness.
Interesting. Of course, they say class was less of an issue back in the high-tech industrial era.
Can't turn the clock back, Kepler. No clocks. Ah, they're playing the first galliard. My mind has been so full of science, I've quite neglected my dancing. I wish I had a moment to practice.
Might you dance with me?
Well, I suppose that when a dancing master teaches a lady, they're not of the same class, so technically it's not forbidden. But do you know the galliard, the pavon, la volta, the dances of nobility? I always assume the man of your class knows only your own type of dances. The cretin's reel, Mary with my pie crust, the shaky cripple, the sailor's rash, the lame goose, oh, worship the eel, Jenny's pox returns.
I have observed the galliard. It is a primitive series of quadratic ellipses in rotational sequence.
Then let us foot it, my dear Kepler.
Come in. Your presence is required for the pavard.
No pop, no style. I strictly roots. There's some truth there, Kepler. Give me little bass, make me wind up me waist. Oh, why not indeed, Kepler, why not?
Senor? No, senor. These ones are on the house.
Boy,
Senor?
I'm actually taller than that. We're the same height, me and her.
Yes, the same height. But she's got heels on, so she's taller.
Yeah, heels on. Heels, not scraps of old felt stuck together with glue.
Look, I flattered your posture. I took out the paunch.
And the day I end up wearing a hat like that, my friend, is the day I banish myself from the city. Good day.
During the English Civil War, there are a group of revolutionaries who want neither kings nor Cromwells to rule them, but see the earth as a common treasury for all. Known as True Levellers and the most populous faction of the new model army, they are gathered tonight at a hall in Putney. Among their number, Colonel Thomas Rainborough, Richard Overton, and Gerard Winstanley from the Diggers' Commune and Squatter Camp on George's Hill.
Now, while I was looting dead King Charlie's secret library, I found this antique parchment hidden behind a framed portrait of Elaine Brown of the Black Panther Party that I bring to you here in Putney in the hopes that we may learn from their struggles against tyrannies old how we in our own time may defeat tyrannies new and those yet to come. Now, before reading this out, I should warn you that some of the time this document uses language very different from how we speak today. But we know all about that sort of thing from our own time, from when John Milton started using the words thou and thee because he'd been listening to Kaiser chiefs. So this be the last testament of the Black Panther Party. Because we'd advocated direct action, they took away our right to vote. Come the economic downturn,
and blacks got the blame. All we had left was support in our own communities. So they began to break that up. They began to forcibly relocate us, made us live in special ghettos until these became fashionable and we had to move out again. Now, in a revolutionary situation, reactionary forces will be unleashed as well. We knew that, but we thought, well, what's the worst that could happen? I mean, it's not like things could get any worse for black people than they were by 1965. Well, we first glimpsed how bad things would be for we people when Brother Robert Johnson came back from the crossroads and told us of a conversation he had with the devil. Turned out the devil had tried to sell his soul to Robert Johnson. What's your problem, man? I gotta go that way.
Got a proposition for you. I'm gonna sell you a soul.
I already got a soul.
I know that, but you're gonna need this one.
Why? What's so special about your soul, see?
This and no other model will do for you.
Oh, yeah?
Uh-huh.
And just why might that be?
Ain't it obvious?
No, it's not.
Well, then, I'll tell you.
Well, please do.
It has survived hell.
Are you serious? How much you charging?
Oh, come.
Well, come on, see? How much you gonna cost?
Well, I was wondering, how would you feel about changing your name to David Gray?
In the history of the world backwards, wars are no random eruptions, but carefully planned affairs. In 1763, countries around the world get together and decide to hold the 7 Years' War. This war brings together combatants as diverse as Spain, India, the Iroquois nation, France and Britain. The 7 Years' War proved such a fabulous success that in 1648 it is decided to hold the 30 Years' War. So many fortunes are made in the 30 years from 1648 until 1618 that an even more ambitious sequel is planned, the 100 Years' War. Scheduled to begin in 1453 and to run until 1337, towns and states across Europe compete to host the 100 Years' War. The 100-Year War Bid Committee travel from town to town, searching out a venue to host the first battle, somewhere that will provide dramatic before and after pictures. Despite putting a very strong bid together, the town of Salford is passed over by the committee on the grounds that it will be hard to tell what effect a 100 Years' War has had on the place. Now, it's an easy thing to talk about a 100 Years' War, quite another to actually keep a war going for that long. So meetings are held and a rota of alliances are formed to guarantee a century of continuous warfare. Navarre is against Genoa, but with France. England is against France, but with Genoa. France is with Genoa, but against Navarre. This arrangement holds Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays. Monday, Wednesday and Friday, the Holy Roman Empire fights against England, Holland, France and the Dominican Republic. Portugal is wild, Castile is neutral between 12 and 4 p.m, but fights alongside Navarre when France has forgotten the safe word.
When were the Light Ages? Hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Why were they called the Light Ages?
It was when the US of R brought democracy to the whole world. In Chile, they overthrew General Pinochet, freeing the people to vote for Salvador Allende. In the Congo, evil dictator Mobutu was replaced with Patrice Lumumba. In El Salvador, Nicaragua, Guatemala, where once there had been darkness, now there was light.
Shakespeare complains that modern Elizabethan theatre leaves no room for meaningful, intelligent plays. Instead, everything follows a safe format of reality shows. Groundlings at the Globe, he complains, will watch nothing but Who's the Witch? Or Will Kemp's Pet Rescue, in which bears are rescued from the scourge of unemployment and given a job fighting dogs while tied to a stake. But Shakespeare hopes to turn this around with his new play set in the Petroleum Age. The play is the happy result of a chance discovery he made while exploring a stranded bridge overlooking the millions of skeleton cars on the M25 Rust Belt near the Thurrock Services heritage site. Inside the boot of a rotten white Morris Minor convertible, he found a dusty manuscript, damp-rippled pages of a docusoap called Slow Love, an early chronicle of love in reverse, how relationships work in the history of the world backwards. Here, love starts with cold disinterest, and passion grows with age.
Look what we found, it's a slow love. We took our time, me and you. Is it 'cause we're slow or just backwards? It took us so long to know.
When we first met in the late 60s, early 50s, it was as if we'd known each other for many years and weren't just meeting for the first time.
Amanda tells me you're studying African poetry. Interesting. Which writers in particular?
It's just amazing you should know about that. I mean, most people aren't really aware of the rich poetic heritage of Africa. The first time I went, have you been to Africa? Have you been?
Oh, yes, dear. Oh, you can't park anywhere nowadays, can you?
So how do you come to be here?
Oh, that's a very interesting story, actually.
Sorry, love, I was miles away. What were you saying?
Well, to be honest, I didn't actually fancy her at first. I mean, everyone said she had a beautiful face, but I found its smooth inscrutability made me nervous.
May I kiss you?
If you want to kiss me, you can kiss me.
No. It's not what I want to do. It's what we want to do.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying as well. Two lovers having their first kiss, this should all be so simple. No. I will make the first move.
I was meeting you halfway.
Let's not measure how much each is doing. I'm not doing that.
When we're making slow love, I won't rip your clothing, because I know so well how you don't like sewing. And we've got all night, there's no need to rush. You'll lose every stitch in time.
We slept in separate beds for the first 10 years.
Oh, well, we made love rarely because the act would leave both of us overcome by sorrow at time passing.
Yes, it was only after our first offspring that our sex lives really got busy, for it was only then that we learnt night time is not for sleeping. And now we're older and wiser, we realise that those first throes of mild but constant irritation don't last, and they're replaced in time by the usual hot flosses and loved-up prattiness.
"10 minutes, my destination. We do not need to drive so fast anymore.
Yes, I know. I can drive as fast or as slow as I like.
Darling, the lights.
Yes, the lights. I'm not blind.
The lights have changed.
Yes, the lights have changed. Thank you for navigating, darling.
10 minutes away with still a full hour to spare before your job of a lifetime interview, whose selection process has whittled down an initial field of 50,000 to just you and one other.
We should see signs for Aberystwyth at any minute.
Aberystwyth. Oh, darling, I thought you said Lincoln.
Lincoln?
Yes, I suppose I must have been thinking about the biscuits.
Oh, Lincoln, the biscuits. Also confusingly a town on the east coast of England, and Aberystwyth is down.
West
Oh, you! Yes, after 10 years, it was suddenly so simple. Like a magic wand had been waved.
Wand had been waved.
We're taking it slow, taking it slow. We're taking it slow, slow. We're taking it slow.
In the next episode of the History of the World Backwards, Christopher Columbus returns home to discover that half of Spain is now ruled by Arabs.
As my ship sailed along Costa del Sol, I saw how the Arab invasion had lain waste our great historical town of Torremolinos. They had even desecrated Pat's fish and chip, and the shamrock bar of Fuengirola.
We follow Tang Dynasty attempts to break up China into a federation of non-hierarchical eco-hamlets.
But Japan is being broken up by the Shogun. We too must fragment China into little pieces, away from the stranglehold of the Qin dynasty. Fighting! Invisible! Hand in the north!
And we will hear increasing prophecies that in year zero, when the calendar goes forward, there will arrive in Bethlehem or Jerusalem a Messiah with a Mexican name.
Very day to deliver a sermon at the Mount of Olives.
Yes, Paul predicted that you would speak at the Mount of Olives.
Oh yeah? Well, did he predict I would do this?
And Rob's back with more Backwards History next Tuesday at 10. Next tonight, our Legends series continues with Ella Fitzgerald.